top down. It will not be fixed. It won't be.
So basically, we have to, like you doing with your ordinance, you serve notice, and once you serve notice, then it has to be a continual thing. If I'm hearing you correctly,
Right. Once notice, there's a law. There's a whole body of law on the doctrine of notice. Once a party has been notified of something, they are put on awares, as the law says. When you get a notice from the IRS, you better believe that you better respond to it. You have to account for it. No notice. Notice is always important. And in this case, my transportation administrative notice put them on awares of the disabilities in the law, not say the limits in the law and the limits in their power. And when they go against the notice, they're effectively going against the law. And they're doing it intentionally and knowingly with malice. So what you're bringing in, what you're showing is malice. The law is clear. They don't have these powers to stop people arbitrarily. They can't arrest them. They can't arrest them on the spot. And if anything, these are administrative charges, and there are multiple defenses that people have not heard about, partly because the lawyer guild, the bar, is unwilling to make a proper defense on traffic. They get a lot of money off these cases, and it's a business to keep the traffic scam going. And so the bar will not bring any changes bottom up or top down, Roland.
So this could really result, the way they're doing it on a consistent basis, this could result in basically a class action lawsuit.
Well, it could, but I think that's very complicated to organize. You have to have a lawyer. You have to find parties, and no lawyer whom I've asked about these questions, I would say, understands what I'm saying or agrees with it. When they hear what I have to say, they just discount it. Well, who's Tulis? He's just a writer. He's just a blogger. What does he know? I think it's important for people to make up their own minds. And since I've written hundreds of articles about this problem, probably hundreds, and they're all online, and there are many of them. I publish something on some topic or other every other day or so. But
and where can that be found?
Well, it's my website, which is, if you Google Tulis Report, Tulis, you'll find it. It's a WordPress blog, and the URL is tntrafficticket.us. That's T letter Tom, TN for N as in Nuga, right? tntrafficticket.us. And what I'm trying to do with it is just expose the problem and then meet people one by one whom I encourage. What I do is I write about people, I talk to people, and I say, read this and look at this. Here's what I would do if it were me. And like I say, I give people my analysis of their situation, and some of them, make me their secretary. There's a truck driver friend of mine. I'm his secretary. I just, I do what he tells me to do because I'm serving him for justice. And in his case, he found a lawyer to take his case, and they're going to be filing suit. But yeah, I want to help people with what I know. The white man who knows the law, not an attorney, giving advice, especially to African Americans, and especially people who have a sense of dignity and honor and want to make things right. They want to have a defense. They want to understand the issue. They want to help their friends and neighbors. They want to sue for damages. I want to meet people like that. And I hope your listeners are like that, Roland. I count them to be so.
And one of the reasons, man, just going back to what you stated about the lawyers not really wanting to take the case, a lot of people don't know this, and I know you know this. The lawyers, the police, they're in cahoots with each other. And they know everything that you stating, and they was like, nah, because if I take this, then I'm really letting the people know that he is really telling the truth, and we working together, and we making a good amount of money, and we like the way we doing things. So,
right.
So this would ruffle feathers if they take the case. So they like, nah.
Right. And they will even though this notice is a public notice, right? This is a public document. It's filed in the the Register of Deeds in Ray County. It was notoriously published in Chattanooga by classified notice, legal notice. So it is a valid notice as far as the law goes. If there are any faults in it, I've not heard from the city about them, or the county, or the governor's office. And if there's a fault in the legal analysis, well, let them make it, okay? Let the lawyer make it. He can't. And it may be imperfect. I'm a sinner, you know, forgiven by the Lord Jesus. Things are not, I don't have everything perfect, but it's an important document nonetheless that I want people to use it as a tool. Like it's an umbrella, right? When it rains, you pop the umbrella. It's intended to be a protection for your viewer and listener. Take advantage of it. I always have copies in my car with me. And if I'm in a jurisdiction that has not been put on notice, let's say Saudi Daisy, where I live, I'll give the officer a notice on the spot. And immediately by law, it applies. Immediately it takes effect, right? Because notice to the agent is notice to the principal. But Chattanooga, the principal is on notice, and individual cops by law, it's called imputed knowledge. By law, they're on notice too. So every cop by law knows about this limit, knows about the notice. Even though he may not have heard about it, he will. And if he hadn't heard about it, he's still under notice by law because his employer, Municipal Chattanooga, has been under notice since February 20, 2018. So I'm wanting there to be slowly over time protection that's been built into these traffic stops, that people know about the notice, cops know about the notice, court judges, it's already been in court, but judges know about the notice. We just need people to use it. It takes time, Roland. It just takes time, probably several years.
Understood. So basically, in an area of traffic, you're really showing people how to police the police, in a sense.
Right. Yes, that's right. My goal is to police the police. I want people to send videos to me or to you if they can't reach me, to you about their traffic encounters. Every traffic stop should be recorded, audio and or video. We need to get these out. We need to have a movement of people watching these cops, and then we can sort of analyze and deconstruct what happens in a particular case. The cops are acting on presumption. When you go to court, I've done detailed study of the questions to ask in a traffic stop case. My questions rip out the lack of evidence, show that the cop is incompetent, he's a nincompoop, he's a boob, he doesn't know what he's doing. He collected no evidence of transportation activity, none. And that's how you get them on the evidence. What evidence do you have, officer, that your listener, the victim, is involved in transportation? And he won't know what you're talking about, but the evidence would be things such as bills of lading, bills of wayfaring, bills of waylading, contracts, passenger lists, manifests. These are all the types of documents that a truck driver has in his rig. He won't have gotten that from your victim. He won't. And so the case has to be thrown out because there's no evidence at all in the record that the victim, the defendant, was driving. He was just in his car traveling down the road. And without there being evidence of driving, which is commercial, with no evidence, the case cannot stand.
Okay, I got another question. Where can we find the letter of the law where it states all this about travel? Like, say if I want to go buy a book, and I know about Black's law, but say if I want to go buy a book to say, okay, everything that RMJR and David Tulis is talking about, where can I find this?
Well, the book is online, and it's called Title 55. Can I step away from the computer just for a second to get my copy of it? Just
Sure.
Okay, this right here is the book, and this is the main body of law. It's called Motor and Other Vehicles. It runs to about 875 pages, 871 pages. Now, the question is, do you have to read this book to to come to an understanding of what I'm saying? And the answer is no. What I've done in my notice is I've gone through this book and I've gone through the other title, and which is title 65. It's a chapter 15, that deals with carriers. It's in the utilities part of the law. And then there's also the federal law, which is about transportation. That's another body of law. But this right here is the main law. It applies to commerce. If you're going to church, you're going to get an abortion, you're going to drink a beer, you're going shopping, you're checking on grandma, you're taking the children to daycare, this book does not apply to you. And so what my notice does, it takes this book apart and it shows you how it works. Okay, that's what I did, is analyzing the book and the law in it. And the fiction in the courts is that this book applies to everybody on the road, because everybody on the road is in fact driving and operating. You're not traveling, you're not communicating, you're not self-propelling. No, you're not doing those things at all. It's driving, and you're under our power here. And the courts allow, Roland, that city cops and sheriff's deputies enforce it, even though when you read who administers the different parts of this book, it doesn't refer to any local cop or any sheriff's department. Registration is enforced and administered by the Department of Revenue and the Motor Vehicle Code on travel safety and so on. And licenses, driver's licenses, that's enforced by Department of Safety. So these are state enforcement and administration claims.
And is that why you stated earlier that the enforcers of it is the state troopers?
Right. State troopers have authority to stop anybody at any time involved in commerce without probable cause. And you say, why is that? Well, that's in the warrantless arrest statute, the very last provision. And again, the law is that a trooper can stop anybody to look at his driver's license without any reason. Okay, no probable cause. And the reason for that is pretty obvious. If you agreed beforehand as an operator or driver in commerce to be privileged, right, to have the special favor, you've agreed beforehand to the search and seizure. You've already agreed to it, so he doesn't have to have a cause. But if a trooper wants to stop a private person, like you, Roland, going to work, he has to have probable cause, which is to say a crime, a warrant for a crime, or a warrant for a search. The three things. He has to see a crime taking place, a crime, not a traffic infraction, have a warrant or a warrant to search the car.
So is that why they say when they stopping you, or even sometimes you could be walking, you fit the description?
Yeah. That's another issue. And
but that kind of covers that in a sense.
Explain that. I'm not following you.
Like you said, they don't think about this. You said they don't have the ability to just pull you over without suspicion, right?
No, they don't. Correct.
So think about this. So what they'll do is, we know we don't have the power to pull you over without suspicion. So we're going to give you the suspicion when we pull you over. Hey, we have a report. You fit the description. That entitles the suspicion.
Right. And
when really it could be just a phantom suspicion.
They make it up as they go, Roland. They lie to the citizen. They have no obligation to tell the truth. You have a duty under a statute to tell the truth. You cannot lie to a cop. You cannot. It's a crime. But they can lie to you, and they do lie all the time for often the pettiest reasons. No reason at all, they'll lie to you. It's a part of the honor code of police. Lying, tested lying, perjuring themselves, and they do that to defend the honor and glory and brotherhood, the fraternity of police. It is a virtue in policing to lie and to misrepresent. You can't do it though. You better tell the truth or say nothing. And go back to my point. Don't flap your lips. Shut your mouth. Don't talk. You owe him nothing. And he will use anything you say against you to give him wiggle room to get into your car, to get into your business, to make you make a statement that condemns you. Don't answer any questions ever. That's my suggestion, and you will save yourself a lot of headache. You cannot talk your way out of a traffic stop. You can't,
So,
or a coming arrest. You can't do it.
so before I let you go, first of all, I need, if it's possible, I need a copy of the ordinance if I can get it.
Okay. Well, how about I email you a copy of it? It's online. Again, if you Google, just Google or DuckDuckGo transportation administrative notice, we should be, there are downloadable copies on my website. You can download it, and the first page is an affidavit when I submitted this to the Register of Deeds in Ray County. So that's the kind of the legal entry to make it a public record.
You said
But then it's just
transportation administrative.
Transportation administrative notice, yes.
Okay.
And and I want people to read it. It's like an education all of its own. Okay, it's like a law school education compressed into an hour's time.
Okay. Administrative notice. And that administrative notice stops widespread breach of search. And you said it's under TN traffic ticket.us, or it's under.
That's right. That's the website. tntrafficticket.us.
Okay, I got it. That's where the downloadable one is found.
Right. And you just have to type into the search window, just type in transportation administrative notice, and you'll see it. There's a story that has the notice written out, but there's a downloadable version that prints out on 8.5 and 11 by 11 sheets of paper, plus the affidavit on top.
Okay. Yeah, that's very helpful and very needed, because we've been programmed to think that we are driving when we really are traveling.
They're lying to you all the time, Roland. They're lying to me. Nothing that they say is true about the way the law works, about the limits on your rights. Your rights are really unlimited, but they will continually at every point say, no, you can't do this, you can't do that. Well, public interest says such and such. You're not a free person. We are not free if we believe we're not free, but if we believe that we have rights, we will tend to live more freely because we assert these rights. We exercise these rights. We defend these rights. When you defend your rights, you're called a belligerent claimant in person. A belligerent claimant in person is belligerent. He's warlike, and claimant means he's making a claim, and then he's doing it in person. You do it right when it happens, not later. If you agree to a search, you can't undo it later. You have to fight for that freedom to be free of a search or an interrogation on the spot in your person. Belligerent claimant in person. We have to learn how to do it. Have some small victories, and you'll get better at it. It just takes practice.
And I got two more questions. One, because once you said in person, or it struck something to me. Once you're stopped, and once you go to court, they ask the officer, did he or she have their license on the person? And what we fail to realize as being citizens or unaware, that like Roland or David only exists on paper. And once, like, your physical is the person. And they know that. That's why the judge always asks, did they have their license on the person, which is really indicating, are they telling you, or have they shown you that they are a driver?
That's right, because a driver has to have a valid license on his person at all times. And there's a widely abused law. It's called the Exhibit on Demand law. And it applies to licensees. And the law says effectively, Roland, the licensee must show licensee's license to officer when the officer asks for it to be exhibited on demand. A licensee is subject to that law and it has to be shown. But if you're on the road privately and you know in your back of your mind that yours is revoked and you can't show it and you're not involved in transportation, right? Because what's in view in that stop is what are you doing right now on the road? If you're just using the car privately, that's your defense. I'm using the road privately right now. I'm not on my license. My license doesn't matter. I'm not going to talk about my license because I'm not on my license. I'm not on my tag. I'm here as a private person. It doesn't matter that I can use my car for commerce and have a license. I'm not on that now. I'm using my car privately. So at any encounter, it's very important legally what you're doing at the time. And so when you start talking about licenses and answering questions about, did you show your license? There's a presumption involved in that question. And the answer is, well, I don't know what you're talking about. I was on the road privately that night. I was heading home and I was not involved in any commercial activity. And I want to put the officer on the stand to ask him about what happened that night. And then you grill him. You grill him based on the questions that I've written. I've studied the questions to show that he has no evidence. And so the case has to be thrown out because there's no evidence of license required activity, which again is bills of lading, bills of waylading, contracts, passenger lists, things like that. Those are the evidences that truck drivers are very familiar with.
And that's why they have because I got a very close friend of mine who's a former truck driver. He's based out of South Carolina. And he was telling me about how if you got so many miles and if you are, say you run out of miles I think it's called travel time. If you do anything in that, you automatically guilty after that. If you run out of hours, whatever, you're automatically guilty because you supposed to be stopped based on the book, based on your jurisdiction. You're supposed to be stopped because you ran out of hours.
Right. And if you people have to pull up in the strangest place, they stop, they can't move. And they know if they do, they're automatically guilty. So they pull up, in front of houses, in front of shopping centers and places they shouldn't be, but they can't by law move. Otherwise they're admitting guilt. That's called strict liability offense. And they're wicked. They're very wicked.
Yeah. And last question, you might not want to answer. So I'm going to give you said, we're going to say C-19, you called it a scam basically earlier.
Coronavirus 19 is a fraud legally, and it's a fraud legally because there is no isolate of the coronavirus. It has not been identified, and the law requires that the governor identify the cause of the contagion, that be done locally, one county at a time, that there be established in each county an epidemic. We haven't had that. There has to be a first case. That hasn't been done. And so the law, which makes requirements that protect us, right? If the government obeys these laws, we are protected in our rights. That law was violated and ignored, and so the state was overthrown. The government has been overthrown by these revolutionaries. They're acting in their personal capacity. They're not acting in their offices. I'm suing them to get the judges to command them to get back into their offices and stop this adventure, this extracurricular activity dressed up as health security. It's a fraud, and it's very dangerous because the fact that my case has been in court so long without relief means that the vaccine project has gotten underway. That's the main thing they want. They want to vaccinate everybody. It is a depopulation project from the globalists, and the fact that Black people are not cooperating with this scam is much to their credit. You are right to be doubtful about the white legal and medical establishment. They do not care about Black people, just like Planned Parenthood doesn't care about Black people. They want you to take the shot. That's what they want. That's why it's free. And you are a victim already, and they want the vaccine project to victimize more people. This is an extremely dangerous jab. It is extraordinarily dangerous. It does not protect you against coronavirus 19. It makes you vulnerable, and I'd say has already killed 2,500 people and caused already thousands and thousands of injuries across the U.S. and around the world. Tens of thousands of devastating injuries and harms.
And that's like, this is my little last 2 cents. And I've told people this on the show. I don't even know if I said it on the show, but I've told people. Everybody who I've known who caught COVID-19, so they say, and who lost their sense of smell and sense of taste, I asked them one question. You wore your mask all the time? And they say, yeah. I asked them, and once I asked them the second question, they were like, I ain't never thought about it. I say, what does the mask cover? Your nose and your mouth. Our bodies are built to breathe in, breathe out, breathe in, breathe out. So once you put on a mask, you're really making yourself sick.
Yes, you are correct. Masks do not stop the spread, as they say. They have no effect on the spread of any virus in any population. The graphs showing North Dakota and South Dakota are identical. One had strict mask policy and others didn't. Florida opened up, California locked down. Identical counts on population of PCR tests. The PCR test, which is routinely administered, is a fraud also. It cannot be used to diagnose anybody's medical condition. It's a misuse, an off-label use of a product, a technique that is fraudulently used, and everybody knows it. And in my case, Roland, it's admitted. The fraud is admitted by the governor. And Hamilton County, Becky Barnes, admits the fraud. They admit it's fraud, because fraud is when you violate a law and injure people. That's what they're doing. They're violating a law and injuring people, and they do not deny it. They do not deny it. It's extraordinary.
Because very few people put them to the test.
Right. No one has tested them except me.
Man, I appreciate you for coming on the show, man. It's been a pleasure. A lot of things was put out they really need to put out, and this is one of the purpose of the Deprogram show, to show people, hey, you do have people like Mr. Tulis and people like myself who really dive in and do research to help others and help people like the viewers.
Well, Roland, it's a real honor to be here. Thank you for all your work in deprogramming your viewers. They're grateful for your work, and I'm honored to be here. Thank you that you took the time to talk to me. I'm really grateful for the time. Thank you so much.
I appreciate it. This is the Deprogram show with David Tulis, and we out.
Thank you so much.